here in the perimeter, there are no stars. Out here, we is stoned, immaculate.
Hello and welcome. This is the C86 show. I'm David Eastaugh. As you know, we've got a special guest. This week it's going to be the turn of the New Jersey-based band, the Catholic Girls, who I spoke to one of the members very recently. That was Gail Petersen, to find out more about life, love and poetry. So this is the interview. So after several minutes of interest but casual chat, we get down to that exciting subject of the early formative years. Gail, it's over to you.
Well, I think it's sort of the late 70s. Roxy, the lead player, and I had both been thinking about starting a band, and we wanted to start an all-girl band because we kept going into guy bands and they would hit on us all the time. So we were getting sick of it. We wanted to do music. And then the whole British invasion came in, and it was Squeeze and Elvis Costello and the Sex Pistols, but then there was the Ramones and the Pretenders and the Cars, and we got really excited about music again.
Yes,
and we were dying to do that. So we had started out being kind of a cover band, but we were not good, and we hated it. So we threw some originals in, and people loved it. And we said, the heck with this, we're going to go all original, and that's it.
And that was the beginning of the dream. And did you grow up in a musical family? Did you have any older brothers or sisters who occasionally gives you sort of musical pointers in life?
No, I was the oldest, and but my parents, who they loved music, and even though neither one of them could play a thing, and they couldn't hold a tune whatsoever, but they loved music. So I was exposed to a lot of music, from Broadway to blues like Billie Holiday and, Cab Calloway and Frank Sinatra and all kinds of stuff. And then the Beatles and all that stuff. My parents were very much into that.
Right. That's exciting. And did you grow up, was it on the East Coast, New York?
Yeah. I was over there, yes.
That's where you began your journey. So it's sort of with us in the UK, when you get to 16, you slightly did your O-levels or A-levels, and then you left school. Some people a bit later on would sort of go to sixth form and then university. What happens when you hit sort of 16? Did you leave school at that age, or did you stay on for college?
I stayed on. No, I graduated high school, and then that's when we started the band right after that.
Right. And was that sort of 81, 82?
Probably 79 going into 80.
Right. When did a musical instrument appear in your life?
When did what?
A musical instrument sort of appear. When did you start playing a guitar?
I started playing guitar when I was 12. I was dying to play. My parents couldn't afford lessons or anything. So I taught myself, and I bought me this really cheap guitar from Sears, where it had nylon strings that were way off the neck, and came with this little book that taught you how to play songs like Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley, which was like who wants to play that? But I learned that way. I taught myself totally, and I never had vocal lessons either.
Right, okay. And what was your schooling like? Did you go to a Catholic grammar school?
Oh, yes. I went through 12 long years of Catholic school. Where I had a couple of nuns, and I had to wear a school uniform and everything.
Yes.
And when we started playing out, we thought, well, we got to wear spandex like Pat Benatar.
Yes.
And then we thought, this doesn't feel like us. And then I thought, well, why not just wear what we've been wearing? Let's design our own uniforms. And we had them made. And we decided to call ourselves the Catholic Girls and wear school uniforms. And everybody loved it.
Yes, well, absolutely, you were ahead of your time. Were the members of the band people that you'd gone to school with?
Roxy was, and also the bass player Joanne was.
Right, and did everyone have the same? I was going to say, did everyone have the same passion of being into music at that stage?
Oh yeah, they did. They really did. And Joanne really didn't know how to play anything, but she learned bass. And then Roxy came across Marilyn, who had actually had lessons. She was the only one. And she was the drummer. So there were four of us.
Yes. And growing up, was it in New York during that period? What was the first gig you went to?
I think the first gig I ever went to that I went to see was
Yes.
probably two different ones that I can think of was Bruce Springsteen, and it was down in
Yeah.
Philadelphia. And then also I went to the Bottom Line and saw Patti Smith. And when I saw her, I thought, oh my God, I can do this. This is what I want to do. This is so cool. And we were really into it. And then we started to hang out and go to the clubs like CBGB's, all those clubs that were in New York at the time. And there were a lot of clubs.
Yeah. Did you go to
A lot.
Max's Kansas City as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So we played CBGB's. We ended up playing there. We played Max's Kansas City. We played the Ritz, Trax, a place called Bonds. And we ended up eventually opening for a lot of big acts because we opened for the Ramones, the Clash, Martha Reeves from the Vandellas in the 60s. And then we were at the Peppermint Lounge, and I forget what else, but we opened for a lot of people, and the Kinks. We opened for them too.
Blimey, you did have rock and pop royalty really there. That's great. There's a great sort of grounding in life, isn't it?
Yeah.
And did you, being in New York at that point, did Studio 54 ever come onto your radar at all?
I think that was before our time. That was more like the disco era, so we kind of missed that. Everything was happening like it was the punk scene was happening.
Yes, a new wave.
Like the punk new wave.
And what about people like James Chance on the Contortions or Lydia Lunch? Were they also people that were quite intrigued
they were around too, and I'm trying to think of who else, but David Johansen, we opened for him too. And they were, and like somebody like Ray Davies was so nice. We opened for him at a really big club in the Ritz. And he actually came after we did our show. He came backstage, and I was like so stupefied. I didn't even know what to say. And he's going, "Oh, great show, girls." And we were like, "Oh, thank you." We didn't even say anything else. We were just all so stunned. He was such a nice guy.
That's so nice, actually. So then when did you discover did you start sort of writing songs when you were quite young, or was it when you started to have, dreams of being in a band?
I started writing pretty early. At first, I was writing poetry, and it was separate from music. And then I thought, why not combine the two? And in high school, I started to do that to make, the poems into songs. And eventually, that's all I wanted to do was write songs. And I'm the only songwriter for the band.
Right. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
So did you come to the sort of the band with the sort of the lyrics and most of the music already sorted, or did you bring them?
No, songs would just pop into my head for no reason, and it would always be the chorus first, which was like the hook. And I had that, and I had part of the lyrics, and then I'd keep working on it and kind of build the verse and the bridge around the whole thing, and then eventually come up with the whole song. And then I would have some parts in my head figured out for the other players, and I would bring it to the band.
God, that's so nice, actually. So the first single you brought out, which was quite early, wasn't it, 1980, Private School, with the B-side of Where Did I Go Wrong? Was that the first time you went in the studio?
Oh, yeah, it was. We thought we have to have, we need a record. And so we went in and we recorded that, and it went really well. And so we paid for that ourselves and everything, and we brought it to gigs and sold them.
Blimey. And this was on Cinema Records. Was this your own little label?
Yeah, that was ours.
Right. God, you were very DIY and punk at this stage, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you had to do everything yourself. We promoted ourselves. We figured out our sets. We did everything ourselves.
Blimey, you went into this was in Fox Studios.
Yeah, in New Jersey.
Right, God. And did you have a producer that kind of got your sound, got your vibe quite easily?
No, that was just us.
Right.
We figured it out ourselves, and the engineer was very helpful. So we said, this is what we want, and we want to have this kind of guitar sound, and we want a lot of kick and snare on the drums and reverb on the vocals. And he was great.
I mean, you just did it all. That's incredible, actually, bringing it together. And then, had you left school at this stage? Had you?
Oh,
also...
yeah. Yeah, we were just out of school. Yeah.
Right. And were
And
you
we were
sort
all
of...
trying to do some kind of work during the day and then drag ourselves out at night late.
So did you then get signed quite quickly to MCA Records at this
Well,
point?
it was a couple of years, and we had a lot of interest. And then MCA came along, and it sounded like a great idea because the A&R guy, we really clicked with him. His name
Yes.
was Leon Tillis, and he said, he really wanted to sign us, and we said, "Oh, okay." And he had us come out to LA to make the record, and we went into the studio, and and it was great at the time. And we were in a really big studio now, 24 tracks and everything. And the first the label was really behind us, and they went and they took the infamous cover picture where we're on the bus. I don't know if you've
Yes.
seen that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And that became famous. They shot that on the Universal Studio lot. And it was a
Right.
bus that, they parked it in front of, I think it was Marcus Welby's house. And then Munster's house was down the street. And and while we were getting our photographs taken, tour buses were going by waving and yelling to us. So that was a lot of fun. And we got to
Okay.
pose and had a really good photographer too.
Well, absolutely. At this stage, though, so you'd be relocated to LA, and then you sort of got the big studio. And did they give you quite a good record deal at this point? Was it quite like, "Oh, this is good fun"?
Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Then the problems set in because we finished the album, and what happened is all of a sudden Irving Azoff took over MCA, and he was the president, and he just happened to be the manager of the Go-Go's. Well, that meant he didn't want us on the label, and he also ended up firing all the people we knew. And they all got blacklisted, could never work again in music business. And we had to still go out and do our tours. And we
Yes.
did two tours across the United States in the
Tricky.
80s. Yeah, which
That
was a
was...
lot of fun, but we
So,
got no sleep.
so what did you say it was Leon who signed you for MCA at the
Yeah.
time?
And then
Well,
poor Leon got fired, and he never worked again in music.
did he? What's his surname?
Tillis.
Tillis, right? God, the poor guy. Because I
I
was
know.
just looking at his sort of like page. He'd sort of got all these bands and worked his little socks off for 2 years basically, and that was the end of
He had
him.
worked He had worked for MCA for like 15 years, and he had signed the Fix from England, and he had also Wishbone Ash and Leonard Skinner.
Yes. So he had a good CV. It was-
He, he
oh my God, that's so tough. So you did 2 tours promoting the
yeah.
album.
Mm-hmm.
And did you
Yes,
had
he
to,
did.
and your singles "Boys Can Cry" in Private School, did they do quite well at this stage?
As far as we knew, yes, they did. They didn't tell us a lot because, like I said, it was taken over, so we didn't have the kind of communication that we wanted. But we found out later it was released in Australia, Canada, and also down in South America, which I was
Yeah.
stunned about. Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting because I did an interview with a member of the Bangles. Yes,
Hmm.
that's right. And you had the Go-Go's, and then you had various. I mean, the 80s was filled with like people like Cyndi Lauper, Madonna. It was like pop was really becoming so kind of MTV. You would have been perfect for that period, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and they wouldn't give us any money to do a video. So me and Joanne, the bass player, borrowed the money and made our own darn video. And we took it to MTV and they put it on. But, you had to pay to get into high rotation, and we didn't have the money to do that.
Yes. Well, that
So
is
we
not.
were on MTV, which was exciting. It was just happening MTV then. And wow, when it came on television, we were like, oh my gosh.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the heavy rotation, and I was always a bit surprised because there's a lot of love in America for some quite interesting and obscurish bands, and then someone told me, oh yes, because in that period when MTV started, there was a couple like a flock of seagulls.
Yeah,
They just sort of stuck this on heavy rotation. So that's why a
yeah.
lot of people went, yeah, because in this country, they had a big hit. But again, I didn't realize they had traveled so well over to America,
Hmm.
but it was
Oh,
the
yeah.
video time really. So yeehaw. So then sort of 83 to 84, what then happens with the band
Well,
without
we were still going and trying, and we ended up opening. We did another tour with Tommy Two Tone, the 8675309 band. And then when we got finished with that, we weren't getting any support anymore from the label, and so the band ended up breaking up in about 1985.
My God, the perfect year for pop.
Yeah.
80, it was so. Then, what do you do with your sort of time? Suddenly, your
Well,
moment in the spotlight has sort of been and gone quite dramatically.
I know I was pretty bummed, and I decided to then move out to LA, and I started another band there. It was all guys, and we called ourselves the CIA, and we recorded, and we were on the verge of getting signed ourselves, but then I don't know what happened. That fell through too. But we were doing really well as well. And
Yes,
then, I happened to say, okay, I need a break from music. And so I wrote a book.
right,
Um, so I wrote a book about a vampire who happened to be a musician too. And that got published in 1993. And I did a book tour, and people kept asking me about music. So eventually I moved back home east again, and I called up Roxy, and we played together and said, okay, we got to do this again. And we got the band together.
right. What
That
year
was
was this?
in 1999.
Blimey, just as we trucked up to the millennium. So, what did you do
Mhm.
for the 90s period? Did you go traveling?
Through the 90s, mostly I was doing writing and, raising a family and things like that. And then in 1999, when I moved back, I thought, well, why not do the band again? And we started playing out, and we got a great reception, and people remembered us. And the internet was just kind of starting. And we were like, oh my God, there's all these fans we didn't know we had. They like
Yes, I know.
popped up and said, wow, here you are. And we're like, yeah, we're here.
So this is when you started. You had another load of big supports at this point, including Gene Loves Jezebel.
Yeah, yeah, we did. And we opened up for Dave Davies and a couple other acts. And but we were playing a lot, and we restarted doing CDs independently. So
Right.
we did a total of, I think it's 5 or 6 independent CDs, which we did totally ourselves.
Yes, blimey. And you performed. Was this at the International Pop Overthrow Festival?
Yeah, we did. We went out to LA. That was, I think, around 2002. We flew out there to play that, which was a lot of fun. We got to hang out with people, even from other bands, like this guy, John from the band The Records, who had
Right.
starry eyes. And yeah, we had a big night there, which was great, right on Hollywood Boulevard. So we were happy.
Nice. Well, absolutely. This is all good. So you did start, yes. So you got your label back together. So you were doing Summer Vacation,
Mhm.
Rock and Roll America, and
Yeah, Rockin'
yes.
America. Yeah.
Oh
And
yes.
that Rockin' America ended up, little Steven happened to be at a gig we were doing, and he heard that song and he went nuts. And he came up and said, all right, I'm not going to promise you girls nothing, but that's a hit. And we're like, okay. And he made it one of the coolest songs in the world. And that was great. We got heard
Yes.
on Sirius all over the place.
Well, absolutely. This is very good. So how long did you, or because I know you brought a single out a couple of years ago, didn't you? Which was called "Hear My Prayer," and with "Can't Wait"
Yeah.
on the B side. So did the band just from basically 2000 to, is it still going now, or is it?
Oh, yeah. No, it's still going. Hear My Prayer and Can't Wait was about a year and a half ago. We're still actually promoting that. And we're getting ready to get ourselves together to do try to go into the studio and do a 4-song EP.
Right. That's
With
amazing.
me and Roxy, and actually Kid Ellsworth. She was the touring drummer, and now she plays both bass and drums on the recording. And she's great.
Fantastic. So from the original lineup, who's still left with the band?
Well, it's me and Roxy for sure.
Right.
And Kid was an integral part because she was on both of those US tours in the 80s.
Right. I've got you.
Yeah.
Yes. So have you, as the band, have you sort of managed to sort of get all your archives sorted out and nicely compiled? A lot of people seem to be doing archives at the moment. I think it's that time of life.
Well,
and also
in 2021 we had an entire collection came out called Rock and Roll School for Girls that included songs that we had done in the early days, and including demos that we had never released, and then right up till like 2018. So it's a 2 CD set, and that's still selling on Amazon.
Oh yes, 40 tracks, the whole business of the band, actually. It's interesting. Have you sort of noticed in the last few years the kind of interest and intrigue of that kind of 80s period that people are discovering and sort of uncovering and sort of embracing with great curiosity and enthusiasm?
Yeah, I think it was a very fun, energetic time. Right now, I don't feel like it can be duplicated that well because at that time there were so many clubs to play and people weren't just sitting at home staring at TV or their phones, and they would be out and about and wanted to hear new music. And I could walk into a club any night and hear some great song and go, wow, I love that. So that's why I think there's a big interest in 80s music because it had that kind of power to it.
I know. You have been sort of going for 45 years now, haven't you?
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it. But yes.
I know. It's quite incredible, actually. And it must be nice.
We're not ready to stop yet.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, there is just, I think with doing these interviews and show, I think when a band has its moment and it's fantastic, and then it finishes, and it's almost that point where there isn't that much interest, and it's almost like a tumbleweed moment. But then a few years, decades pass, and this becomes a bit more interest in the band, and people become a bit more curious and kind of re-evaluate. And I think the 80s has really had that quite recently, especially since COVID, where people have just gone back and discovered bands that were quite, I suppose, a bit more the obscure bands rather than the mainstream bands, and just went, oh, that's an interesting thing. And so there's been a lot of films and documentaries, exhibitions have come out, that isn't just about the mainstream, but all the sort of other scenes that have come. And obviously playing at CBGB's and Max's Kansas City is just a good thing, really, isn't it? And how did you find those two clubs? What was it like playing in both of those?
Well, CBGB's was a real hoot because you would have to pull up in the van. And first of all, you had to pay the king of the bums $20 to make sure your car didn't get broken into. And then you would always have to, he called himself the king of the bums, yeah. And you would have to bring toilet paper with you, soap, and paper towels because the bathrooms were a nightmare in there.
Yes.
I mean, it was the filthiest club I think I've ever seen in my life. Max's weren't that bad, but I had cockroaches in it, so I didn't like that either. You couldn't sit down anywhere.
No, well, no, that would be awful. And what about the Mud Club? Did that come onto your consciousness?
Oh yeah, we played there. We actually opened for I forgot about it, Screaming Jay Hawkins, who was another really nice guy. We were hanging out with him downstairs in the dressing room, and he said, listen, girls, don't go up there. It's kind of scary up there. There's too much drugs. Stay down here with us. And we're like, okay.
Good advice. Well, yeah. Screaming Jay, I just sort of forgot about that. Great.
Yeah.
I've got
a spin out of the coffin and everything. But, that was his, persona on stage.
Well, absolutely. God, that was always a stunning moment. And has your sort of getting inspiration for songs, has that sort of changed much over the years? How do you sort of navigate that?
I think a lot of things inspire me, and it just comes from somewhere. I don't know, somewhere else. So anything I see, read, hear, I think it influences what I write about. Because Hear My Prayer was definitely about our current situation in the world, where, it's kind of a scary world we live in now, and you have to be worried about things. So it sort of was like a prayer to someone up there, like, please, can you, help us in this time period?
I know. I know we're turning to anything, aren't we? Really, to cope. But it's
And then we found ourselves in this. We were in this documentary recently that was released called Jersey Sound. It got cut down a lot, but we're in it for a short period of time, about our time in New Jersey in music. And then another movie that was an indie horror movie asked me if they could use 3 of our songs, and they did. And that film is called Staten Island Ghost Story, and that's doing really well. Won a bunch of awards and won Best Soundtrack for the New York City and State Film Festival. And so we were now in that movie too.
oh, that is fantastic. Well, I'm glad you just told me about this new movie which came out last year, The Jersey Sound.
Yeah, yeah. And Staten Island Ghost Story is still making the film festival circuit. Once it's finished doing that, it'll go to streaming.
So was it Staten Island
Ghost Story.
Well, I thought I know I'm making notes here, aren't I? I know.
Kind of a send up for The Exorcist.
Well, I know, but it's always interesting to sort of see. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll check out the Jersey Sound actually.
Yeah.
And so going forward, then you've got sort of hopefully a studio time with. Did you say you've written the 4 tracks that you want recording?
Oh yeah. I definitely have the 4 songs and figured out the parts. So it's mostly, it always comes down to, unfortunately for us, money. To have the money to go into the studio.
Yes. And do you also is there a particular studio you use in LA?
No, we don't do it in LA. We do it in New Jersey.
Right.
The last one was in New Jersey, and it was at a really good studio. I really liked it, called Laughing Boy Studio, and they were great. The guy that owns it, Tom Lucas, was fabulous engineer, really helpful.
Blimey, I need to look at that as well. I'd love, because there's another one called, is it Martin BC? Who's got a fantastic studio, which is in New York. So that's a different place, isn't it? But anyway, Laughing Boy Studios. Oh, that's cool. And with the rest of the band, do you feel, like obviously being together almost probably more than 45 years, has it sort of been one of the more kind of important kind of relationships that you've had in your life? Sort of coping with the world.
It's a very close friendship that I have with band members. I mean, we know each other so well that we can just think, and I could just call Roxy and say, I have this line for the new song, and she'll go, okay, sing it to me, and I'll learn it. And we just click like that. I mean, and I feel like I can talk to her or Roxy or Kid about anything at all.
Yes. And with your
like
touring,
a good marriage,
Well, yes, a very functional marriage. Did you? Yeah. So with the touring and the dates, have you played most of America or just mostly the East Coast?
Yeah, no. When we played our tours back in the 80s, we went up and down the East Coast, like all the way up to Maine, all the way down to Florida, and then we went across the South, through Texas, New Mexico, into California, and then up to Washington. And we also at one point played Chicago. We never played anything like in the middle of the country, like Kansas. We never played there.
No. And does it vary quite a lot from town to town, how the audience is?
We've been pretty lucky. The audience has been really, really good. And we've had a wide range of fans. And when we were touring, I mean, I was always surprised because we went down south and we went to this one club, and the stage manager said, well, I don't know, what it's going to be like out there for you. And I'm thinking, oh God, there's people that are really rowdy. And he said, because, everybody out there is black. And I'm like, yeah, so what? And he said, yeah, well, maybe you'll have a problem. And I said, we're not going to have a problem. And we didn't. We had a very big, devoted, Black audience and gay male audience too, as well, besides straight guys, of course.
And did you ever sort of tour Europe or the UK? Did it ever happen?
No, but we would have loved to. I would have loved to have gone to the UK. Oh, I would have given anything. Yeah.
That would have been
that would have been a dream,
I know. I guess that's just one of those logistic things, isn't it? When you're on a sort of roll to, I think as most bands now feel, it's just so much effort as you get older trying to sort of travel and tour. And I think for the British bands going to America, it's so expensive now. So I think those days are sort of gone. And if you were able to whisper something to your 16-year-old self starting out, is there anything in particular that you would have told them? Told that person?
Maybe, first of all, try to get some lessons if you can. And second of all, really think about making some money, because it's really tough otherwise.
Right. Yes. Have you ever seen any money for the band?
Not really. What little comes in goes right back out.
I know. And who owns the sort of, the sort of confusing world of, the masters, the publishing rights? Has that kind of reverted back to you now, those kind of things?
Oh, yeah. I own all the songs, so I have no problem there. Right. But, with the bringing on the age of streaming has made it difficult, because, people can download for 2 cents, and that's it. So, the bands are not making money. Unless you're a big, big star and you're selling billions and billions of downloads.
Yes, I think most bands have to rely on merchandising to give them that little bit of a little moment. And for people who are interested, do you have a Bandcamp page where you be able to download or buy music for the band?
No, we had a website for a while. Actually was run by Leon Tillis, because he always loved the band, but he passed away last year, so that was kind of put an end to our website.
Oh, yes. I've been looking at it. Is that the one, thecatholicgirls.net?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
we still have it, but we haven't been able to afford to update it. Let me put it that way. And I've heard that, if we could do that eventually, you can sell downloads that way and you get more money.
Yes. Most people have suddenly got themselves onto Bandcamp and all that malarkey. So it's a nice little website, though.
Yeah. Yeah. He always said, Gail, if I had gotten into any other label, I would have signed you immediately. And I'm like,
And what did Leon go and do after his MCA days?
Well, he did all kinds of odd jobs, and then he learned how to create websites. He had to make money,
Yes, and there you go. He did his.
But he loved music. He really did.
Well, I know. Well, 15 years at a record label must have been.
Yeah.
Yes, the formative years, actually. Mm. And are there any bands from that period that you recommended or you rated quite a bit during the 80s?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, I just wondered what other bands that you, during that period, that you were particularly fond of, that you were listening to.
Well, we always liked the Pretenders, Elvis Costello. We liked the Ramones, although we opened for them. They were kind of weird. I think they were just really stoned at the time. Roxy asked them to take a picture, and they just kind of stared at her. But I think they were just gone,
Right.
That, and we opened for Tom Petty too. I forgot about him, and he was great too.
Blimey, you've really, did you manage to?
Showed up at one of our shows too.
Oh, who was that?
Yeah, he came there we played the Stone Pony in New Jersey, and he was there, and we were like, "Oh my God, that's Bruce!"
Bruce,
like, wow, yeah,
he was there. Oh my God,
the boss, yeah.
Absolutely. And did you manage to sort of keep an archive of the band? Pictures, posters.
Yeah, we kept as much as we could. I moved around so many times that I lost some things, but we kept what we could, picture-wise, and posters. from way back, because MCA did make posters of that whole album cover.
Yes, absolutely. And have you ever had any plans or got any plans to write a follow-up book or a book about your kind of your life and the band itself?
I don't know, maybe one day I will. Right now I'm working on a sequel to my vampire book, so.
Well, I'm sure that will
Yeah.
that's probably going to sell more copies, isn't it, really? People love vampires, don't they? There you go. Well, look, this has been fantastic. Well, thank you for your time. I hope this has been
No, thank you.
I hope you.
Thank you.
Hope it's not too
Thank
early.
you for asking me.
Well, no, it's been brilliant. And if you want, when I put it out, I'll also send you a link, and you can always put it on your Facebook page or any of your other social media pages. But that would be absolutely brilliant. But thank you ever so much for this. This has been amazing.
Yeah, let me know when it'll be broadcast, and I'll definitely promote.
Yes, well, absolutely. Well, I hope you have a lovely day, and I'm going to go to bed.
You're going to turn in. Okay.
I'm going to turn in. I know, it was so rock and roll. Anyway, that's the end of the interview. A massive thank you to Gail for giving me the time for that from the Catholic Girls. This has been the C86 Show, David Eastaugh. If you want to contact me, you can on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just do C86 Show. And all these interviews have been archived on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean. Have a great week. Stay safe.